And welcome everybody back. This is episode 4 of Chapters. I'm Claire Allen, and I am again joined by the wonderful and extremely talented author Fionnuala Kearney, who I'm not allowed to describe as my glamorous assistant anymore. And we're really lucky today because we have a double whammy. We have the wonderful Phoebe Morgan with us, who is not only a fantastically talented author in her own right. Her third thriller is due to come out at the end of this month. She's also an editor for HarperCollins and for Avon, and actually she's my editor, so I have to be on my very best behaviour today. Phoebe, it's absolutely lovely to have you joining us virtually.
Welcome, Phoebe.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Fionnuala is going to kick things off for us today because she does that so well. So
okay, right. So, obvious question probably, but actually it's one that I'm really interested in. I think other people will be interested too, is the balancing act. Okay, so you are a full-time editor for a major publishing house, women's fiction, and so you've got a full-time job already, yet you manage, as we can see behind you, to produce your own work. How in God's name do you find the time, and how do you juggle it?
So I think at the moment, obviously, everything is a little different because we're talking during the 2020 lockdown. So time has become kind of, well, I don't know about you, but I feel like it's changed. Like it's become kind of elastic, and April seemed to last for 2 minutes, whereas March lasted forever. So the concept of time has kind of become very strange recently. But generally, I think what I do is I mainly write my own work at the weekends. So I used to try and write after work and do, a few hundred words a day after I finished working and after I got home from the office. But I found that was much harder because my brain was really tired, and so I'd just be so sluggish. Whereas if I have a clear weekend, which to be honest now I do, most of my weekends are completely clear because I have no life. It's much easier, and I can get quite a lot done during like a stretch of time on a Saturday or a Sunday, and that works for me a lot better than it did trying to cram it in after work. But obviously it's different for everyone depending on what your kind of general routine is. But now with the routines having changed so much, it's actually really nice to have writing to do at the weekends, because I sometimes feel a bit weird at the weekends at the moment without the structure of the working day, and without seeing my colleagues and that sort of thing. So having the writing's been a real blessing, definitely in the last few weeks.
It's quite hard, isn't it, at the moment to discern days, because obviously, well, for Claire and I, we're still working, and we're still working from home, so from that point of view, not a huge amount has changed, but Monday to Friday you're working, and then you're trying to sort of do something where I would normally be out or seeing family or friends or whatever, and none of that is happening. So come Saturday, I'm actually now trying to have one of those old-fashioned lions.
Oh yeah, I've had lots of lions. It's actually great.
On a Saturday morning, I think, I'm just going to lie here and I'm going to go on Twitter or whatever, just faff around and not feel guilty.
It is quite nice not having the kind of pressure to get up and commute. I think that's the thing that I've noticed as a positive. I mean, I really, don't get me wrong, like I really miss the office. I'd love to go back when we can, but it is nice just not having to get on a crowded tube and just to be able to walk, a few meters to the kitchen and start your work. That is quite nice, actually.
Quite a chilled house. I have to say I'm not missing the school run at all. But I still don't get my lions because the kids might want to sleep, but the dog wants to get up. So and she won't let anybody sleep. Is Phoebe with us, or has she frozen?
I think Phoebe's frozen. Yeah, she has. No, she this hasn't happened before, has it?
We shall pause it, and we shall join back with you when Phoebe comes back to us. So just bear with us a moment. And after that short commercial break, we're back with Phoebe. We have managed to get technology to work in our favour for another while anyway. So we had moved on from, we were just about to move on from talking about school runs and commutes and the publishing side of things. We want to talk a little bit about your books. Now, I've read them all. This is the newest one, which is a proof actually. So you want to say
Babysitter, isn't it? Yeah.
The Babysitter.
Yeah.
On the 28th of May. Is it still coming out?
Yeah, it's really soon actually. Yeah, a few weeks.
I can't wait. I have to confess I haven't read it because I haven't got the proof, but I can't wait to read it. You've had lots and lots of really good feedback on it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always really nerve-wracking, obviously, as you both know, when you've got a book approaching, and I think having one during lockdown is particularly nerve-wracking. We'll have to see where we are in a few weeks' time, but I think, I've been really happy with the way that people have responded. I think people have kind of gone out of their way to try and read the proof early and give me early reviews, and it does really help. And I think my publisher have been great at kind of getting the proofs out in time before this all started. So it is a massive relief to have support from other authors. I know, Claire, you're always so supportive, and I do really appreciate it, because I think you never know how a book is going to be received, do you? And even with the third one, like, it doesn't feel any less nerve-wracking than it did with the first one, really.
No, I don't think it changes with any book.
Yeah, I suspect it doesn't change who you are, or with who you are, or indeed what book you're writing. I think those nerves are always going to be present, and I think they're a good thing, actually.
Yeah, I suppose it means that you care, otherwise you're sort of putting it out without caring. But when you've spent so much time on something as well, I just, I check my NetGalley reviews and I think, oh my goodness, like, are they all going to hate it, or is it going to be something really wrong with it? And I'm quite good at being quite immune to sort of average reviews, or if there's the odd 1 star, I don't really mind. I think my fear is always that if there was a majority of 1 star, that would be bad. But I think if the majority are positive, then I'm usually fine.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It is. It's just that sort of fear factor when you get down to the bit in the page that has the star reviews, and you're just going, "Oh, what's it going to be?"
What's it?
Yeah.
And how do you find, Phoebe? I always think it must be. I know when I for example, when I am writing a thriller for yourself, I have to really limit the number of thrillers that I read, because I'm a bit of a magpie. And I can find myself a bit like that with accents. I find myself talking in other people's accents, so I can.
I do that with accents. Yeah, it's quite strange. Yeah. Although I can't do an Irish accent, so I'm not going to start doing
that. We will get you something sorted with that.
We'll be in New York for a day or two, and I make a really good American.
Do you?
I really do. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Go ahead.
But obviously, you can't necessarily choose what you're going to read, because you're going to be working with different authors, and you work with a lot of thriller authors. How do you find distancing your voice from their voice?
Well, it is hard. Because I work with so many brilliant writers, including yourself, it is difficult to not, obviously I don't want to rip off anybody else's work or anyone else's voice. I think partly what I was saying before about having the weekend distinction helps, and I think sometimes when I start writing, I think, oh, I am sounding a bit like so-and-so, or I've picked this up slightly from someone. But once I get into it more, I find like my own voice comes through a little bit more. So the sort of further I get into it, the more time I spend on it. And the other thing I do is I write quite a rough first draft. So I kind of get everything down on the page, and then I go back and edit it. And then I think maybe my voice comes through a little bit more in the editorial process. So when I'm going back in and adding little bits and little asides, and that's more me than the actual, because my books are quite plot driven, they're very commercial, so that side of things is just getting it down on the page. But yeah, I suppose because I am reading so many books all at once, then there is that kind of inevitable fact that you do sort of get quite absorbed in another writer's voice. But I think because I don't only do crime and thriller, because I do a little bit of more uplifting books and saga and historical, a little bit of that side of things. So I try and like keep a balance, so I'm not always doing thrillers, but I just love thrillers. It is my main passion. I love doing crime, I love doing suspense, and I end up reading them in my spare time as well. So actually during lockdown I've tried to do a bit more reading for pleasure, because it's one of the only things that makes me feel properly relaxed. So I've read a couple of like non-HarperCollins authors just at the weekends, and that's been really nice, because it's been ages since I read anything for pleasure like that because of work. I just can't usually.
It's funny, isn't it?
I do think
sorry, Claire.
I do think you do have a very distinct voice that is yours, that comes through in your books. I have to say, I could pick it up and I would know that it was you that wrote it. So in case you thought I was going, oh my God, I'm accusing her of it. Well, not at all. You do have a very distinct voice, but I know that I would struggle with that. So it's interesting to hear your opinion. Yeah. Sorry, Fionnuala.
No, don't worry. Sometimes we just start to talk at the same time. No, what I was saying is that it's funny that because you're an editor and you're a writer, and obviously a love of reading is what first will have brought you to that career path. And it's something that I would miss, actually. I think if I were doing that double layered career that you have, that you must get very little time to read out of work reading.
Yeah, that is true, and it is I mean, it's hard to say a downside because I'm so lucky to do this job, and you know, reading is my job, and I'm very grateful for that. But I think sometimes you do feel, oh, I wish I just had time to read something else. And I think I was feeling that quite a lot a few weeks ago. And then I thought, you know what, you know, it's really sunny outside, and we've got a little roof terrace thing here, so I could go outside and read. And I thought, I'm just going to give myself permission just to read a couple of books that I've been really wanting to read for ages. And I honestly had so much fun. I just felt so relaxed doing it. And it's hard because it is hard to switch off the analytical side of your brain, and it's hard not to be looking for a hook or thinking, how good is this opening, and where's this going to go, and trying to guess the twist and stuff. But to feel that responsibility taken away when you're reading a book that's already been edited by someone else, and it's already been published, and there's nothing you can change about it, is actually really nice. And it is a good way of kind of winding down and also just escaping. You know, it's really nice to escape into a novel, especially at the moment. So I have to just make myself do it and give myself that permission.
And no, I know you and I've had this conversation, and I saw you tweet that, you know, some people seem to think that maybe the publishing industry is on pause, as so many things are at the minute, but you still are reading manuscripts, looking for submissions, and you still are acquiring new authors.
Definitely. I think we're lucky actually, because we're an industry that is able to carry on. So we've just switched to doing everything remotely. You know, we work in exactly the same way, but on Microsoft Teams. So everything's obviously virtual like this. And we have all our same meetings. So we have our acquisition meeting every week. We have our editorial meeting where we're discussing new submissions. And we're really actively looking for new books because, you know, I mean, this would have been so different, you know, 10 years ago or whatever, when ebooks were not a thing. But now that we have that digital space, and we have ebooks and we have audiobooks, we can access the readers. And, you know, we also need books for when we go back. So 2021, 2022, we need novels to fill that space. So we actively are acquiring. I've acquired a couple of things in the last few months. So for my team, and you know, if anyone wants to submit to us, we have an open submissions period at the moment on Avon Books. So it's avonbooks.co.uk/submissions, so you can look at the guidelines there. So I definitely would recommend that if you have got a novel in you, or you're thinking of submitting, now is quite a good time, because we are all reading, we are all actively acquiring, and you know, we definitely need books. You know, we can't just function on the ones that we've already got, although we've got lots of amazing authors. We are always looking for more. So, you know, please don't feel as though publishing is on pause, because it's definitely not. That's the main message, really.
And I can absolutely recommend Avon Books. Being
Thank you.
publishers, and I'm not just saying that to be a creep. It's true. So that's definitely, I've had a very positive experience with you. Finola, I talked over you again. I'm really sorry.
Don't worry, I've forgotten what I was going to say, so don't worry about it. Are we ready for the quick fire round, Claire?
I think we are.
Okay. I'm ready. I'm a bit nervous now.
No, it's really simple, don't worry. Right, I've got to put my specs on for this. Right, okay, Phoebe, number 1, scenes. Do you write them in order or not?
Not, I would say.
Oh my gosh, that's the second. I'm really surprised by the amount of people who don't write, because I'm just such a control freak. I have to write in order.
Well, I sort of try to. So I start off writing a bit in order, and then what will happen is I'll just hit a wall, and I think, oh well, I just don't know what's going to happen next. But I do know what's going to happen at the end, or I know what's going to happen in a few chapters' time.
I'm so going to try this. I really am, because obviously I do it. So
well, it's good because it means it takes the pressure off. You can still put your word count up, but without it having to be chronological. I really like it. Yeah.
Okay, number 2, most effective writing time: early morning or evening?
Mine's more daytime, I think. So I'm not a particularly early bird or kind of night owl. I think I try and be quite productive during the days, you know, during the weekends. So I probably have to say, you know, like sort of kind of lunchtime. I write quite a lot in the like normal kind of afternoon time rather than late at night or anything.
Okie doke. Number 3, do you prefer writing first draft or editing? For your own work, obviously.
Probably editing, because the first draft is quite tough, isn't it? Especially when you've got a deadline. My deadline is in 1 month. 1 month today, actually, so that's scary. So, you know, as I'm sure you both know, like I think writing to that deadline is, you just want to get it down. And I think once you've got it down, no matter how hard the edits are, they're not as hard as getting that first draft on the page.
Yeah, Claire and I call it the vomit draft, if you'll excuse the word, but it's just it's just getting it out and getting it down, get this the story on the paper. Okay, favourite novel?
My favourite novel is probably After You'd Gone by Maggie O'Farrell. It's her first one, and I love it. Yeah,
it's just the best, isn't it? It's such an examination of grief.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that uplifting, so it's maybe not the best read at the minute, but I just think she's such a wonderful writer, and I think that first book is still my favourite after all of her books.
I agree. I think so too. Favourite author?
Well, I do like Maggie, my friend Maggie, not. And I like Leanne Moriarty. I think she's always brilliant. I love a lot of thriller authors. Obviously Claire, one of my faves. I love Sarah Vaughan. I just read her new one. I think she's brilliant. And I love Liz
Hearing great
Meaden.
things about her new book.
Yeah, it's so good, honestly. Yeah, you guys have to read it. I've recommended it to literally everyone. It's so brilliant.
I've read it. Yeah, it's really good. Really good. Okay. Best fictional baddie ever?
Oh gosh, that's a really hard one. I always used to think Cruella de Vil was a great fictional character. She's very easy to picture, and I think great imagination. And anyone in the Roald Dahl books as well, I think. He's very good at creating those fictional villains.
The Twits are
good. And the witches. I used to be absolutely terrified of the witches. Oh my god, their bald heads and like their square toes. It's absolutely terrifying.
Favourite social media platform?
Mine's probably Twitter. I'm quite active on Twitter. I do like Instagram as well. I wouldn't say I use Facebook very much, apart from just for work sometimes. I'm not very good on Facebook. But yeah, I think Twitter, because I love the way and especially at the moment, it makes you feel really connected to people. I've met a lot of, amazing writers through Twitter, amazing kind of job opportunities. I think it has downsides. So obviously at the moment there is quite a lot of anger on there, and I don't find that particularly helpful, but you have to just kind of regulate what you see, and if you can find the good stuff, then I think it is a positive place in general.
Yeah. White or red wine?
White wine, I think.
White wine.
Yes.
Myself. City or countryside?
City. I think I'm a city girl at heart, really. I do love the countryside where I grew up. So I grew up in Suffolk and my mum lives there, so it is nice to go back and visit, but I couldn't live there full time just because I like the buzz of city life. It's not really happening at the moment, but in general, I love that. I love living in London. Yeah.
And final question: citrus or floral scent, or neither?
Oh, I think floral. Yeah, I love scents. I put on a bit of perfume this morning for no reason, because there's literally no one here.
Oh, did I?
I said. Yeah. My boyfriend's looking at me like, I said he's here, no one else is here though. I put on a bit of perfume because sometimes it makes you feel a bit better, doesn't it?
I have to put perfume on every day, or it's like my little treat to myself.
Yeah, it just makes you feel a bit more switched on, like you can cope with the day a bit more, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Oh, great. Okay, that was a fun round.
10 little insights into Phoebe.
That's really fun.
Thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, people can find Phoebe on Twitter, they can find her on Facebook, they can find her on Instagram, and they can buy The Babysitter, or they can pre-order it now on Amazon and all usual stockists, of course.
What date is it again?
28th of May.
28th.
Sorry?
28th of May.
And it is an absolutely brilliant read.
Thank you. Thank you both so much for being so supportive. It's lovely to come on and see your faces.
Oh, listen, thank you so much for being here, and good luck with the book. I can't wait to read it.
Thank you. Thank you.